Hey class, I would like to talk to you about someone I have been learning about recently, and his name is Noah Webster. I'm going to tell you a little bit about his background, and then I'm going to tell you why he is an interesting person to learn about. Noah Webster was born in October of 1758, so a long, long time ago. He was born in New Haven, Connecticut, and he was raised on a 90-acre farm. He had four brothers and sisters. And when he was about 6 or 7 years old, that's about the time he would have started school. So we start a little bit earlier now because most of us start at 5 or 6. And so he started at 6 or 7 years old. But when he was about 10, then those boys in that time, they were expected to work when it was summer or when it was warm outside, and then in the winter months that they would go to school. So when he was about 14, he started getting tutoring so that he could attend college, and he went to college at Yale University when he was 16 years old. And while he was at Yale, the Revolutionary War was taking place. So his college experience wasn't the typical college experience, like especially nowadays where you get to go and have fun. He did in the beginning, but it got interrupted because there was a war, and there were some diseases that broke out, and we can relate because we just went through COVID. So there was diseases that broke out, and they had to quarantine at home like we had to quarantine, but they didn't have the assistance of technology like we do. They had to study on their own. They had to study books. They had different places in their own town where they could go and study, or they would have a teacher come to that area to teach them, but they weren't on campus. But he graduated in 1778, and he wanted to be a lawyer. He went back home to his family, but by this time, he didn't care nothing about working on no farm. He just wanted to learn more things. He loved learning. And so his dad's like, well, you got to go. Here you go. Here's your little bit of money. You decide what you're going to do. And so he left home. And back then, you didn't go to school to become a lawyer. You had to find a lawyer, and you had to study under that person. And so he found a lawyer. He was trying to study, but he couldn't make any money. So he decided that he was going to be a teacher. And that's how he was going to make his money. So while he was teaching, he noticed some things that he noticed when he was a kid. When he was a kid in school, he noticed how the room was cold and there was a whole bunch of kids crammed in there. And it wasn't just 6 or 7 years old, it was everybody. If you ever watched the show Little House on the Prairie, that's kind of what I imagine that his school was like, where it had a whole bunch of range of students, and they're all learning different kind of things at the time. I mean, they might be all learning spelling, but of course then they would have more challenging words if they were an older person. But as a teacher, he was noticing that the textbooks they were using were not really that good, and they had just won a war. We just won our freedom, and he thought that we should be learning about American history. And so he decided to take it upon himself to make his own textbook to help his students learn better. So he created a textbook, and he went around the country promoting his textbook and selling his textbook, and it actually became a famous textbook. And they have estimated that up to 100 million copies of his book sold. And that is one way that he changed education in America. Another way is he used his book to help create a common language that could be used among all of the Americans, and he used patriotic themes and moral ideas. So the way that you should act, how you should conduct yourself, those were all things that he included in his book. Now, Noah Webster, he went on and he created a dictionary that was unlike any other kind of dictionary at that time because it contained 70,000 words. And of those 70,000, 30 to 40 of those thousand had never been in a dictionary before. So he did a lot of work. He did a lot of learning over his lifetime. He was a lawyer. He was a teacher. He went around promoting copyright laws because people were trying to plagiarize his book. He supported the government. He wanted universal education for boys and girls. He promoted abolition of slavery. He wrote textbooks. He edited newspapers. He even corresponded. That means he wrote letters to George Washington and Benjamin Franklin. He helped found a college, and he created his own version of the Bible. So he did a lot of things during his lifetime. He lived to be 84 years old, and when he died, he was buried in a cemetery that's close to Yale University, and that's the school that he went to. So that's just a small amount of stuff about Noah Webster that I wanted to share with you. Thank you for joining me, and I will talk to you again soon.